excited to be here and honestly finally talk to you all about Shared AR. We've been in a beta period for quite some time, so really excited to see the product launch. It's been a long time coming. A lot of work went into this product from the team. So yeah, just really excited to be here. Just a little bit more about myself. I've been at Niantic for a couple years. I've worked on infrastructure and distributed systems for my entire career, actually. Started out in Azure, working on open source Kubernetes projects, and also kind of was on the same team of Azure Kubernetes service. So have a lot of background in infra and systems, et cetera. And then came over to Niantic, worked on Pokemon Go infrastructure. We did a huge migration, and then started to rebuild Shared AR. So if you're slightly familiar with Shared AR, we do have our V1 stack currently running and available on AirDK. We've rebuilt our stack to be more maintainable, more scalable, and really focused towards features and maintainability, and then also focus on the web. And so we just made sure everything would work really well for the web. And yeah, so let's get into it. So building Shared AR experiences with Niantic, we will go briefly over kind of our AirDK offering, and then also 8Ball, and then dive really deep into the 8Ball product offering. And we have some folks here also on the 8Ball side, and then even on the engineering side, if we want to get into some other kinds of questions afterwards. So here at Niantic, our mission is to inspire people to explore the world together. That togetherness aspect is really, really important to us. And so something that's really stuck with me, John Hankey, our CEO, would describe kind of this concept of if someone is looking at something and only one person can see that one thing, people are going to call you crazy. But if multiple people can see that one thing, it's not it's not crazy anymore. It's acceptable. It's magical. It becomes real. And so Shared AR really brings that togetherness aspect, that real-time togetherness aspect, where AR actually becomes real, to not just you, but to people all around you. So getting in super shortly into Lightship AirDK. It's our Unity SDK that allows developers to build really contextual experiences in AR. I'm just going to pause these videos just for a hot second. Give me 1 second. We have over 1 million active users, and Lightship also powers multiple AR experiences across Coachella, JR Reality, Trip, Pixelinks, and most recently our new game Peridot that just launched. If you haven't checked it out yet, it's definitely worth a try. A really cute kind of Tamagotchi style pet game that uses Lightship AirDK completely. And on the right, you can see some AirDK experiences that our beta partners have been building. So another thing to know, AirDK 3.0 has been completely rebuilt to work with Air Foundation. So if you are a Unity developer using Air Foundation, Lightship AirDK is going to be more friendly. That's releasing in a couple of days. And then the Shared AR V2 stack will be releasing next month in beta. It's a fun experience. Another thing to call out here, Hot Dark Matter actually went viral with this specific TikTok. So if you look up Matter AR on TikTok, you'll see this. They have over, I think now, 4 million views. So, and it's a Shared AR sort of use case and example using VPS. So we thought that was just really exciting to see end users users and communities get really, really excited about this potential gameplay. Yeah. And on the left is a real world MMO from Foundry 6, also using a lot of the same functionality that's also offered on the 8Ball platform and AirDK. So yeah. All right, and then I know all of you are really familiar with 8Ball, but just as a brief overview, developers can create, collaborate, and publish WebAR experiences all on the 8Ball platform. Gives you everything you need in one place. Over 100,000 apps have been created on 8Ball to date, and over 2,500 commercial experiences have been published and counting. Here's just a fun video for the morning. Good morning for us. Cool. And we're gonna keep going. There you go. Okay, so before we get into the specifics of shared experiences, I do want to talk about kind of the paradigm of shared in general. And so shared state is something that you can commonly see in our Niantic games, where everyone either can see the same things on the map. Updates happen within seconds, not milliseconds. So for example, if I take a Pokemon or if I plant flowers in Pikmin Bloom, everyone kind of shares that world and shares that state eventually. On the right, what we're talking about with shared AR is actually real-time interaction. So that's just a really important distinction to make. You use different services across both to create kind of shared state. You'd use like a Firebase sort of system or a database behind you to update state. And then on the right, with real-time interactions, you actually most likely need to create networked messages to send to multiple clients in the session. And that's where latency of, in the milliseconds or hundreds of milliseconds is more important to enable real-time interactions versus the seconds of latency you'll get for building out a shared state sort of ecosystem or experience. And so when we talk about shared AR at Niantic, what do we mean? It's a set of tools, and for 8th Wall, it's a set of tools and services to help developers create engaging AR experiences for multiple users. When we talk about shared AR, we always mean at least two things. We always mean rooms, which is just the ability to group players together into the same session. These sessions can be remote, in person, etc. And then networking, so the ability to actually send real-time messages across multiple peers in that session. And then on the right are kind of add-ons that we are adding on to different offerings. So on the 8th Wall side, we also included real-time data store, which you can use for game state for the lifetime of the session. And then colloquialization is something that you'll see more on the ARDK side right now. But it's something that you can enable if you're savvy enough. And we'll get into that later at the end of the deck. But just as a brief overview, colloquialization is just the process of creating a shared coordinate space. So if you are in the same location, AR objects show up at the same position at the same time. It's not something that we offer out of the box yet on the 8th Wall, but something that we're looking into and working on. And so when we talk about shared AR, it's really, really important to think about the opportunities and then also weigh them against the challenges of creating a shared AR experience. Multiplayer in general is one of the hardest things to really get right and really to master, but it's something that at Niantic and at 8th Wall, we're really trying to make it really easy. So let's start with the challenges and then go through the opportunities. So in terms of challenges, there is a high cost of getting started and having to maintain infrastructure. Now, this isn't true anymore on the 8th Wall platform because we offer all of the infrastructure for you. There's no setup, there's no maintenance. We handle all of that for you. But again, the learning curve of learning best practices and how to build a really great shared AR experience, that still exists. Everything can impact latency. So the kinds of experiences you're thinking of building really have to be tailored to the kinds of latency and round trip times you're experiencing in your region or for your experience. So that's just something to keep in mind as you're thinking about what experiences to build. What's the user tolerance for these updates? What does it actually look like when you're playing? And then out of sync issues across clients is something that we see really, really commonly. So I've been in the multiplayer space in AR specifically for now 2 years. And I have never seen a perfect shared AR experience. And that's not to mean that it's not possible. And when I mean perfect, I mean there's no out of sync issues between clients. So if we have a high score, for example, and I have a certain high score and you have another, we should see the same score across that session. Quite frequently, I don't see that happening quite as easily. And that really speaks volumes to, on the 8th Wall side, like we want to make it even easier for you guys to implement best practices for doing things like computing scores, for doing things like throwing, balls at certain trajectories. So there's a lot that we can do here to make things easy, but this is just something to keep in mind. We do see this frequently. And as we kind of level up the kinds of AR experiences that you can build on 8th Wall, definitely taking the QA time that you need into account is going to be important. And so that brings us to our last bullet. Definitely more QA time is needed. A lot of testing across multiple clients, across your friends. In the 8th Wall web client, you're able to create multiple instances of the editor so you can simulate different clients, but it's really important to actually, try it out on the medium that you're going to be using the experience on. So whether that's mobile, whether that's headsets, whether that's desktop, and really thinking about all the join flows, et cetera. So opportunities. So now that we've gone through all the challenges, why would you build with shared AR? So AR is better with friends. Shared AR creates a really great sense of community and engagement. It's something that's probably been missing up to this point in the AR space. And we really feel like this is the right time to start to level that up. Multiplayer content is easily shareable, just like what I had shown you from the hot dark matter example. That TikTok had already gone viral. And so this is kind of a call to action to you all to think about shared AR and kind of the virality of it and how it's so easy to share. It's more likely to go viral. How can we kind of utilize mediums like TikTok and other social media platforms to really gain a lot of traction and end user eyeballs and get them excited to jump into these AR experiences. And multiplayer will make AR more acceptable in public and private spaces, something that we've really run into, especially at Niantic. We really think about how to get people outside and how to get people kind of engaged with these AR experiences just at large. And making AR acceptable, especially when you're in public spaces, is really hard. If I am, holding my phone up at something, whether it's a QR code or image target, and trying to jump into an experience, it might be awkward, right, for me to do that out in public. It might even be awkward in my own living room if, I have a sibling or something that's taunting me. But either way, multiplayer will make it more acceptable because at least you can have multiple users so they can see what you're seeing too. And it's more of a, you guys are grouping together to do the same thing and they can join you. All right, so shared AR for web devs. Here's our launch video. I'm gonna let it play.
I don't think the audio is playing, Ria.
Oh, is it not coming through?
Yeah, when you click the share screen button through Zoom, make sure the bottom left share sounds.
Okay.
Yeah, you don't have to stop screen share. You can redo it eventually.
Share computer sound. Okay, I got it now. But yeah, so we went through a private beta with 3 of our 8th Wall partners, so Palan, Atomic Digital, and Trigger. And they helped us build some of the experiences that we see here, and those are live, so feel free to send them out. Now hopefully the sound's coming through. So it was really awesome getting to work so closely with these partners and feedback.
Can you mute the video, Ria?
Oh yeah, was it too loud?
Yeah.
Oh no. Okay, we'll keep going. All right, so in terms of a product overview for shared AR for the web, this is what we offer out of the box. So Room supports up to 32 players per room. Rooms can also live for up to 1 month. But we are on a monthly maintenance schedule. So in our documentation, you will see that. And that will mean on that monthly kind of maintenance schedule, all the rooms that were created will get deleted at that time. That being said, this is only a constraint for the next couple of months. We are working on functionality to allow us to do maintenance without you guys even seeing anything. So that's coming in the future, and we'll update documentation to show that when we're ready for it. We also offer you a real-time data store. It's a key value store. Feel free to use it for game state, high scores, etc. But do not use it for persistent information. That should really be backed up by something like Firebase or another sort of actual storage system. We offer lobby pages. So we put a lot of love into thinking about all of the join flows for how people join the same room, how people leave, how people join the same maybe casual shared AR experience. And so this is drop-in ready for your application, and it's also customizable, and we'll go through that too. In terms of networking, so network messages are relayed through our server in central US. That being said, our system can go regional in the future. We are going to be working and prioritizing when that is. And then your yeah, and then we'll kind of offer it within the product offering of shared AR for the web. And shared AR can also be used as an adapter for network JFrame out of the box. So we built that adaptive layer. Feel free to use it. We have seen people just pick up the shared AR kind of low-level APIs as is without network JFrame. So feel free to kind of use whichever you want. And then here's just a cute little example of what we had in our beta. But this is an example of just a very lightweight, casual experience where you have robots just running around, whether they're in AR through an image target portal or just like in your desktop mode. And something that I want to call out is just like, it was so fun just running around in AR, even though there was no objective. Like the fact that you were with other people was just so fun, and just kind of running around in this new world. So another thing I want to call out is we do have caps for the different plans in terms of shared AR rooms and concurrent users. So we have a concurrent user cap. So for the starter plan, we're at 20. For the plus plan, we're at 100, pro 250. And if you need to go past that, for example, if you want to have a shared AR experience at a really large event like the Super Bowl or the Olympics or something to that nature, please just talk to us so we can make sure that we're kind of ready on the maintenance side and like we're kind of watching out for those bursty workloads. We know multiplayer is more of a bursty sort of kind of workload, especially now that we're launching. We're going to see spikes and kind of those ebbs and flows depending on when the WebAR experiences are going to go out. So feel free to work with us on that, but we're hoping that this should cover most use cases. And this is just concurrent usage. This isn't like overall cap. It's just to really kind of protect our server against, one application really just taking it over. But of course, we have options for you in the enterprise space if we need to do that. And lobby pages support join flows for mobile, desktop, and headsets, and they're customizable. So we do allow you to have kind of a create game screen where you can put your own image of the game and, have people kind of create a game experience. From there, people are able to invite other folks with a QR code. They can also send a link to their friends easily with these widgets and these copy buttons. And then when people are joining in, you can kind of reframe how many users you want for the application. Another thing I will note is that if you do have kind of a cap for users, say your game requires 4 people, maybe think about how you can support also maybe 2 people or even a single player mode. So depending on kind of how where people are and how they're trying to join it, making it more flexible for people to join is also a good thing. And then you can have a countdown and then you can ready. So you can choose to have a countdown to allow people, once they're all ready, give them a couple seconds before the game starts. And so all of that's customizable for you. And we've also done all the permissioning. So you can see like allow access to AR, depending on whether you're on headsets or mobile or desktop. We've made sure that our permissioning flows work for those options. And you can also use headsets in conjunction with mobile, in conjunction with desktop. We don't have any constraints. So if you want to have multiple users in different mediums joining the same room, that's completely possible. And feel free to customize these lobby pages. You can kind of customize the background color, these foreground colors, these button colors to whatever you want. And then we also have this similar widget that you see here in game. So for casual experiences where someone, for example, the robot lobby sort of sample, if you want people to just join in the middle of the session and you don't necessarily have a timed experience where someone explicitly loses or wins within a set amount of time or gameplay. And then you can use this widget in gameplay and allow people to easily just join, like have their friends join, have their friends invite friends, etc. And so we also offer some shared AR examples that are built by us. So we have Hop Pot Hop. It's a sample project. Feel free to utilize it. It kind of goes through all the lobby flows and then also some really cute gameplay where you have to try to not be soup. So feel free to try that out. And yeah, so it's just a really cute experience. Supports, I think, 2 to 4 players. and multiple, actually, I think we go up to all the way to 8 players with Hop. And you can share with your friends, and just a really cute experience. And then on the right is Arcade. It's a shared AR experience for AWE. But just another fun example of what you can do with shared AR. Something to note is, yeah, like make sure that your experiences are tolerant for the kinds of kind of latency that you expect for the experience, and that's something important to try out. And so these were some really fun experiences that were launched while we were in production. And another thing I want to highlight is just what's upcoming. So I did touch on colocalization, the process of creating a shared coordinate space. And so this is an example that we have that we'll be launching with shared AR next month in ARDK, but it's something that if you're savvy enough, you can build into 8th Wall on your own in your own application. But it's just the process of creating a shared coordinate space. We'll also offer an abstraction where you can use image targets or VPS to co-localize. So as long as you all are pointed at the same or pointing at the same way spot, for example, in VPS to localize, you all can join the same session. But we all understand where everyone is relative to each other. So I think that's really special. You can finally see other people in AR. And yeah, so there's some really fun, I think, creative experiences we'll start to see from this. And even that laser tag experience that I showed you earlier was also an example of someone using colocalization. So all the objects and everything will show up in the same position. There's like a floating like disc kind of in the area. We all can see that in the same position at the same time, which is really the special part about colocalization. Cool. So thank you. And now I think we're going to hop over to questions. We have a lot of folks here, including me, that can help answer some questions for you all. So excited to get into this portion.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ria, for presenting. Oh, I hear myself. Does anyone else hear that?
Me.
Okay, that's weird. So yeah, thanks, Ria, for presenting about shared AR. Lots of great information. And we have some questions already in Slido. So kind of let me read out the first one. Is the shared AR module compatible with multiversal deployment? I think they maybe either this means cross device or metaversal deployment, but happy for the person
Metaversal deployment. Yeah, that's a great question. It should just work from our understanding. I would love Evan or anyone else to jump in if they have a different understanding, but it should just work, but it's not been tested fully by us. That being said, our lobby join flows have been tested on headsets and do work kind of similarly for like the other kinds of frameworks we have for UX on headsets. So, but if Evan wants to jump into that one, feel free.
Yeah, no, that sounds exactly right. We would definitely expect this to work across any device.
That's a great answer. Thank you, Ria and Evan. And yeah, the next question is, does shared AR need to be built in the 8th Wall Cloud Editor, or can it be self-hosted?
That is a great question that I think we had another answer for from Joel. So let me double check. I want to say yes, it does, but let me get back to you on that, unless Evan has a concrete answer for that one. Because we needed to test it and we haven't tested that yet. And so from the product angle, I can't give you a complete yes. Let me get back to you.
Yeah, we can make sure that we answer that later on in Slido, or if that whoever asked that question wants to let me know who that was, I'll make sure to Slack you the answer. But I'm sure everyone wants to know.
Also, really quickly, you can use shared AR for both self-hosted and cloud editor projects.
Thanks for jumping in there.
Thanks, Ian, coming in clutch with the answer. Next question, is portaling between worlds supported with shared AR?
Portal link?
Yeah, portaling between worlds supported. I don't know if it's
Portaling
an
between
AR
worlds.
question or just an eighth wall question. Whoever asked this, maybe if you want to raise your hand or specify.
Yeah, I would love some more context on what portaling between worlds means.
Stephen, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Yeah, so there's the concept where you're in a room, so you're co-located, but some people could be remote. So now you have this sort of world room that you're shared in, and then you put up a portal which jumps you into a different experience. So we've been seeing it on several other platforms like Spatial, for instance, where you can sort of jump between worlds.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see why you wouldn't be able to build that sort of experience with shared AR.
It's
are you
it's
asking?
something that has to be implemented or added in
I see.
on our own, then I guess.
Are you
Yeah.
curious more about just the portal feature or the shared AR feature with it?
I really want to see the shared AR where like a group of people can get in from one experience and then walk through a portal and then go into another experience and then have that set up together, because that to me is a good beginning.
Yeah, super cool. I mean, for the co-located piece of it, where you want everyone to kind of see the portal at that same position, that piece, like you would need to build in yourself at the moment. But I mean, definitely feel free to, if you're in the eighth wall, kind of Slack talk to us after. This is definitely a commonly requested feature that we're trying to just build into the module. So to make it really, really easy for you folks to do these sorts of things. But right now, yeah, we would need to kind of show you how to do that just within your code.
Thank you.
Great question. Next question is, do the lobby caps apply to individual lobbies, or is it total users across multiple lobbies?
Total users across multiple lobbies.
Great, thank you. And then can 32 concurrent users be increased on commercial projects, or is this a tech limit?
That is a technical limit, but feel free to talk to us about the use cases of, going beyond that. We do have some inklings of how to do, large event sort of AR experiences. And that's definitely something that Niantic's very interested in. It's not something that we're actively pursuing at this moment, but would love to talk to you more about that use case.
Cool, thank you. And then feel free, if whoever asked that question, you want to elaborate. But I'll also move on to the next question. How well does shared AR work in countries with unstable or poor connection?
So you do need a connection, because we are relaying all these networked messages through our server. So if you're seeing drops or, your connection's not that great, you definitely try it out and make sure your experience, it can tolerate that sort of network. And so that's my advice for you right now.
Awesome, thank you for that answer. We get that a lot with shared AR and VPS. So is there, or I guess, how does the co-localization feature work technically, kind of like behind the scene? Like they're just more interested in understanding it.
Yeah, so we haven't quite designed it yet on the eighth wall side, but on the area decay perspective, so all we're really doing, especially when we're thinking about colocalization with VPS, it's actually a really thin layer. What you have to do is just make sure everyone can target the same space. So everyone's localizing to the same space. And then we're doing some computation to understand where everyone is relative to each other and relative to potentially that origin that you're also seeing. And that's really it. So it's not too large of a wrapper. Some savvy devs, we think, can probably just pull it off on eighth wall.
Thanks, Ria. And I think Rick was elaborating on the question with the 32 concurrent users, like elaborating, I guess, more on the current sync issues. What kind of other sync issues have you seen?
Yeah, I mean, when I say sync issues, where it's really notable is when like I have a certain amount of I have a certain score maybe, or like the team, for example, has a certain score, or like usually in a game, everyone's kind of competing, everyone has their own score across the game, and then you kind of end the game, and then all the high scores, like the person that scored the most potentially is the winner. I have seen so many times that like the score that I might be seeing on my screen is differently represented on someone else's screen. And so like me as Ria, I got a 50, but on someone else's screen, it looks like I got 100. And so there's just something wonky going on with that computation. And then I think that's the most drastic thing I've seen in terms of and then of course, like making sure that every client is experiencing the same behavior at the same time, right? So if everyone's trying to join the same room, like you expect and you see all the same clients in the same room. If someone's trying to leave, like everyone kind of leaves at the same time, just kind of the basics of getting everything together. And then, yeah, so in terms of latency issues, like we have from at least the US, we see about, and Danny, if you're on the call, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but about like 120, 130, 140 kind of milliseconds for round trip times. Of course, if you're in Japan, or you're in a different country, or you're in Europe, you're going to see sort of higher end latency times. That's something that would be improved by regional servers in the future, which is something that we're actively starting to think about because our architecture allows us to do that pretty easily. And so if you do have a big sort of event that you're trying to go against in Europe, for example, just talk to us, because that will just give us more reasons to add that into the system. And the ideal would be like your application automatically, depending on where your users are, will reroute to the right server. So it wouldn't hopefully require any extra work from your end. And so for latency issues, it should be pretty consistent for whatever region you're in. Yeah, so there shouldn't be any like issues per se. Yeah, it's just the tolerance.
Yeah, thank you, Rick, for diving deep into that question. That was really useful and great answer, Ria. Yeah, and then some developers are curious about what's the distance limit for code localization? Like how far can it track your friend, for instance?
How far? So yeah, we're it really depends on the like what localization kind of system you're using underneath. So if you're using image targets, for example, and you can think of like the image targets kind of the origin of the experience, then everyone's tagging from that, and then you're kind of calculating the distance between everyone's device to the distance of the origin. It's going to be as good as your tracking is, and as good as kind of the localization system you're using. If you're using VPS, for example, it's not going to be better than what you're getting with VPS in terms of tracking. But what we will say is any sort of drift that you see will be compounded by shared AR. So it might be slightly worse because we're doing some more computations on top of that to really figure out kind of all the positioning. We haven't seen it be at least on our testing with AirADK, it's been pretty performant, as you saw in that video. But yeah, definitely a trial and error thing, definitely to understand the tolerance for drift across your session in tracking.
Awesome, thank you, Ria. Another question is, has anyone from the 8th Wall team tested using shared AR with something like the VPS scavenger hunt project? Kind of curious about shared AR plus VPS.
Yeah, so I mean, if you try the bespoke experience with VPS in that project, we haven't done this yet. So I can't deny or say that how easy or hard this would be. But if you try the bespoke experience where everyone is targeting the same way spot, and you've kind of added those way spots to your project, as long as everyone's targeting the same way spot, you should be able to enable colocalization. I don't think it's going to work as well in the procedural use case, but we think for at least the bespoke kind of example, it should work, correct me if I'm wrong, that should be the scavenger hunt one. but we have not tried that yet, but it's really compelling for us. I'll give you another kind of feature that we're really excited about that we're launching on ARDK, but not quite yet on 8th Wall. Kind of eliminating the join flows that you saw. So if you're in like a real world space, right? And you just we just say like, hold up your phone, get your camera feed, like you have to be in the 8th Wall experience, but just kind of hold up your phone and localize. When people localize, that's actually the process of joining the same room. So automatically, like as long as you hold up your phone and you're able to localize, we're tagging and putting rooms kind of at that way spot and persisting them there. So there's some really cool things you can do, and that just makes the AR just feel even more real, because you don't have to go through these explicit join flows anymore. You don't have to share a QR code. You do have to be part of the same web app at the very least, but you don't have to do that extra step to get into the same sort of room and ready up for casual experiences. That would be really cool. For, explicit start time and end time experiences, of course you probably want to counter in there, and you maybe still want a lobby page, but these are flows that we're really excited about exploring. But try it and let us know how it goes. And honestly, more noise, I think something that would really help us as we're going into planning. This has been great, but like if you also want to add some more noise into feature requests, that would be awesome. And I'll just kind of use all of that, like give me your use case, give me the why, and we'll do our best to try to get this feature out more quickly, because we had a lot of questions on colloquialization, which is awesome.
Plus one on everything that Ria said, really excited for someone to try that out. Please let us know how that goes. And someone, you're not a noob at all. Someone asked, what is VPS? Just assuming everyone knows what VPS is, but Ria, why don't you just kind of give an overview of that?
So VPS is our visual positioning system. It allows you, so on Niantic, and I know a lot of you have already heard this a lot already, but on Niantic, we're building a 3D map of the world. And so we're using scans from players, from our developer ecosystem and end users to build out this really high fidelity 3D map of the world, which allows you to create persistent experiences and content at real world locations. And so really bringing AR to persist and live in the world, but also using it as a really great way to just localize reliably, and also localize and have a better sort of tracking. And so on ARDK, we definitely see this, and excited to continue to work on it on the 8th Wall side. So give it a try.
Yeah, give it a try. We just wrapped up the VPS or Web Challenge, but you can still give it a try. I just want to add on to that. If you think kind of like GPS, global positioning tracking, which uses satellite data for your longitude and latitude, VPS is imagery based, right? So that's why the tracking is a lot more precise, because you have that 3D mesh. So kind of just thinking about it that way instead of just a position on the earth, we know what the world looks like around you as well. But yeah, next question about shared AR is, what if the person is in the same area, but they have different lighting locations? For example, you're in a well-lit room and they're in like a dark outdoors area. Like, how does shared AR work with that?
I mean, at that point, like our system is currently really only providing kind of the real-time networked messages. So any like transformations that you're making to those objects or any updates to those AR objects, I mean, I would recommend building the right user tolerance into your experience. So for example, if someone in a dark lit room can't see the puck, right, then they're going to lose. Most likely. And so making sure that end users know the right expectations, like maybe, hey, you guys should move into a well-lit room, etc., would be great. And we're in the future, we'd love to really help out to maybe in real time understand these user error flows that they could end up in, and then help them kind of get back to a good state. But at the moment, you will need to think about that for how it would be handled in your experience. Yeah,
that's a really good point, and would direct you to watch our UX for AR 8Talk that we have recorded on YouTube. But let's see, we have some ARDK questions. I'm happy to take those if there aren't too many 8th Wall questions, but let me just check if we have any more 8th Wall questions here. Otherwise, I will take
love it. I love
ARDK questions. Yeah, I know we have a lot of people building on both platforms. So we'll take an ARDK question. Let's see. Does ARDK colocalize or synchronize with, this isn't really a shared AR question. I guess it is. Does ARDK colocalize with meshing and game board features? And maybe explain what game board and meshing is for those who aren't Unity developers.
Yeah. So, I mean, game board is where you can kind of, and this is going to be my take on it. I would definitely recommend you guys go to the actual documentation. I'm not the PM for game board or meshing. And so really been more deep on VPS and shared AR. But game board is kind of it gives you the ability to create a game board. It's really, the name and the title. But you can also have characters move around in that specific game, kind of on their own and procedurally. So you can say that, like, for example, the snowman has X amount of space. We maybe create this game board, and then the snowman is able on its own with, I think we say it's AI, able to walk around procedurally and kind of make its own walking path, which is really cool. For the meshing example, you can create a real-time mesh, and then you can do things like, throw a ball against it, and, place objects in real time against it, maybe do even more procedural experiences. So like your experience can actually be tailored to the context that it's in. It's something that we're thinking about bringing on the eighth wall side too. So I know there's been conversations about bringing that tech over. And so you're going to start to see a lot of the tech that we get on the ARDK side kind of cross mingle and get released on the eighth wall side with, work to making sure it's web compatible and everything like that. And Chanel, thank you for pasting the documentation for those two. And does it work with colocalization? All our features on ARDK should work well together. And I think the point there is should. I think we're about to launch our ARDK 3.0, which is, lighter in weight, works with AR Foundation. All our features work in tandem with any AR Foundation feature that you might see. The only risk that you run into is potentially performance. And so thinking about when you're running multiple kinds of features together, what's the kind of performance you're looking at? But meshing and game board and colocalization with VPS, well, I guess at that point, like maybe just colocalization with VPS. If you wanted to combine all for different kinds of use cases, go for it. Try it and make sure the performance is what you're looking for. But feel free to talk to us too, and just message us in Discord and let us know if you're running into any issues. But we will be benchmarking all of our core services and platform features together to make sure they work really well.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ria. I just dropped the documentation, but we did actually have some ARDK sessions last year on Lightship semantics, as well as game board, as well as I think maybe a workshop on game board too for advanced object placement. So I'll drop those in the chat in a little bit while Ria answers the next question. Let's see, what was the next question? I just saw it. Okay, I guess maybe someone deleted the next question. We seem to have answered all the questions in Slido. I would welcome anyone to unmute themselves right now and ask a question, or feel free to drop it in the chat and we can read it out loud. There are no wrong questions. You can ask about anything. Oh, we have a question here from Ro. My shared AR game involves interacting with a virtual fence that surrounds an open space playfield. Ideally, users should be able to enter the game from any location on the edge of the large open space field. Is this wide-scaled shared AR experience possible? If so, what are the best practices for VPS, creating a single way spot, multiple way spots, image targets instead? Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, so let's assume you've gotten past the issue that colocalization isn't offered yet on eighth wall with VPS, and you figured that out on your own. Then you're asking about, like, can we do these larger contiguous experiences across these larger play areas? I will say we have a project in the works called it's internally called LCAs, large contiguous areas. And it's something that we're looking at bringing over to eighth wall and then also ARDK. That being said, it's still in very, very, very early development. But today in 8th Wall, the meshes that you see online in the geospatial browser are the meshes that you'll be able to track against. So whatever you end up bringing down into your project waste spot will be that. That being said, we know that people want larger meshes. They want them to be aligned. We're going to work on it, is kind of what I can say right now. But no, I don't have any kind of timelines for when you'll be able to track against larger meshes on 8th Wall and be able to do those larger experiences. Right now, it is really kind of the meshes that you see online are what you can track to. But love Ian and Evan to chime in if they have a different perspective or want to add some more context. Cool. And then I think the second part of the question was, if so, what are the best practices for VPS? Is it best to create a single waste spot, multiple waste spots, or many image targets? I would say, so for now, like for that, if you have someone localizing, do it one-to-one. So you have them localize and track to that one waste spot. We don't support like what we call like kind of multi-space or multi-waste spot tracking yet. And so you can't go across both, but as we make more updates to the system, we aren't going to be so waste spot centric anymore. And we're going to be more of a layer on top of the global world. So wherever you are, you should be able to track to whatever's near you. So that's where we're going, but we're not quite there yet.
Great question, great answer, Ria. Thank you. We have time for maybe another question or two more questions. If anyone wants to unmute or type in their questions.
I'm glad we got through a lot there. Too.
We did get through a lot. We had a lot of questions. You answered them really well. Do you have questions for the audience, Ria?
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, a lot of you are really excited about colocalization. I guess, do any of you guys have experiences that are kind of in the pipeline that you're really excited about? Are there use cases that you're really excited about enabling? Would love to just talk more deeper about that. Anyone has?
Yeah, anyone can mute and share their ideas. Ria is the product manager for this feature. Right person to be talking to.
I have an idea to discuss.
Hey, Tyler, for sure.
Well, yeah, thank you, Ria. This has been really cool and exciting to hear all this. And one thing I've been thinking about is we're doing an experience that's going to incorporate interactive characters within the experience. And so we've been wondering about if you're there with friends, both doing the experience at the same time, like having a character within the experience that's, aware of both of you within it. And yeah, can interact with both of you simultaneously.
Super cool. Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. Colocalization would definitely allow you to have your character be aware of the other people. Or at least
Perfect.
Yeah. Or at least the other positions of the devices in a technical way to say that. But yes.
Yes. Thanks.
Yeah. Super exciting. Well,
Thank you, Tyler, for that. And
AR
then
Mortal.
Joe, you said AR Mortal Kombat. Tell us more.
That would be good. Yeah, let's bring all the classics over to AR. I've definitely seen that start to happen. Internally, we do break out a lot. So we like AR breakout.
I can't hear you, Joe.
Yeah, it would be in a way that you could, for example,
Oh, sorry. I think he cut off. I'm not sure if I heard him or not.
Yeah, we cut out.
But it's okay. Joe's on Slack. Slack us, Joe. Awesome. Well, we're almost at time, so we can wrap up now. But thank you so much, Ria, for presenting and answering all of these really important questions. I know that Shared AR was a highly requested feature for 8th Wall, and I'm so happy that you and the team made it happen. And just everyone, thank you for asking these really important questions. And just a reminder about our announcements for this month. If you're curious about this mystery challenge, I would invite you to take out your phone and scan this QR code. I'm not sure where it'll lead to. You'll have to find this out on your own by scanning the QR code. It's a mystery event. And then for the Developer Day applications that will go out live this week, if you're interested in hosting a local 8th Wall workshop sponsored by 8th Wall in your city, please fill out the application. We'll choose 4 cities for the rest of the year to host these workshops at. But yeah, thank you, Ria. Thank you, everyone, for being here, and we'll see you guys later. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. See you out there. Bye.